Hello and welcome back. The premise of FM23 Roleplay is that we create a 15-year-old American kid using Football Manager's player editor. We give him a 200 potential rating, and we follow him throughout his career. We will not coach any club, and we will not interfere by using the in-game editor. Our test subject, Henry Marshall, is now 17 years old, and he's settling in at his third MLS club, Atlanta United. Now, before we get to the gameplay mode, I promise that in the future, or at least in this alternate universe version of the future, we'll take a look at some side events taking place in the alternate universe. Now, one of the major developments of 2024 was that in February 2024, bioelectronics treatment for arthritis was rolled out in the United States after FDA fast tracking. Bioelectronic medicine activates a natural physiologic pathway through the vagus nerve stimulation to restore immunological homeostasis, or they call it returning the body to its natural set point. Now, many rheumatoid arthritis medications have severe side effects, and not only would bioelectronics reduce the need for these medications, but may alleviate the need to abuse opioid drugs as a pain suppressant. Another major event, in early March 2024, Super Tuesday will be completed on March 5th. It is March 4th, 2024, currently in game. In the United States, Super Tuesday is a part of America's primary season, where there are various state-level competitions to determine, rather mini elections, to determine who will be allotted a certain number of delegates from each of the states and the Democratic and Republican national conventions. The event is called Super Tuesday because a lot of states have their elections at that same time. And early March 2024 Super Tuesday, Joe Biden has no significant opposition for the Democratic nomination, whereas Donald Trump rolls over his opponents to make his nomination a foregone conclusion. I'll probably still be creating these episodes in early 2024. Let's see how these predictions pan out. Let's also take a look at the various players on Henry Marshall's Atlanta United team. We'll focus on a new acquisition from here we are. Our new loan acquisition from Arsenal, Florin Balogun. Balogun, an American-born English player that came out of Arsenal's academy system. Now, how is he American-born? Well, an English player. Well, he was on a trip to New York to visit cousins, or rather his parents were, and he was born in New York. He stayed in the United States for his first 2 years. That's why he has American nationality. Now, he was raised in the UK. He ended up going on loan to both Middlesbrough and Stade Reims, and he was back at Arsenal this season before his third loan out to Atlanta United at age 22. He's a very committed and very brave player on the pitch, and Atlanta United's fans are seeing the preseason, such as his dominant preseason game against Izirgo Matapan. Now, Henry finds Balogun fascinating, and that, like Henry, Balogun has also had to move from club to club, that he's young, and he's a great player, and Henry Marshall hopes to be as great a player as Florin Balogun. Now, Balogun definitely proves to be a headache for Henry whenever Henry has to face him in training sessions, and Atlanta United is hoping that this loan is going to be permanent. And we're going to stop right there. We're going to actually go ahead and look at our schedule here. Next game is going to be our first game. We're trying to move through it as much as we can, or as much as makes sense. We will have CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinal games as well, and the quarterfinal games will be against Olympia, a Honduran team. But we also have starting MLS games against DC United, Columbus, Inter Miami, and 2 games back-to-back against Nashville in March. So we'll stop here and we'll come back soon. And we are back. I managed to make it to March 18th, 2024 before we have some big news. So let's go ahead and look and see how some of these games turned out. The first game here was against DC United, and that one was a game in DC. Turned out to be a draw. March on a 6-9 in that game. He started the full minutes. Hayes had some problems. Man and keeper, he had a 6.2 year, and managed to tie it despite despite their poor possession. Took a lot of shots. A lot of shots were on target too. So the first game of the season, a draw. Second game of the season, Wilfried Nancy goes back to Columbus, his old team, to maybe possibly try and improve a point. That one's on the road, and it's again a 2-2 draw. Henry Marshall, 6.9, Mr. Consistency, starts a full match. However, Pay Eason goal 5-2. That is a very, very bad game. On the other hand, Jabara here with a goal and an assist. He was the player of the match in that game. So Atlanta starts its first two games of the season with draws. And that game turned out to be the first game against Olympia at the quarterfinals, the CONCACAF Champions League. The draw against Columbus, rather, that was Atlanta's 12th straight game without a defeat. They were hoping to break that record with a win against Olympia, and they got a big win, 4-0. As you can see, quite a dominant win. Marshall had a 6-9 again. Pace turned it all around, 7.4. Balogun here, he turned out to be player of the game, 8.0 match rating, and an assist. That gave Atlanta 13 games in a row without a defeat. That's a new record. But then Ronald Hernandez, right back Ronald Hernandez, he got into a fight with Wilfried Nancy about his contract. He wanted a new contract, and now the press is all at it again. Nancy says that he'll try to do something for him. The old coach of Atlanta United, Gerardo Martino, he's now over at Almeria, and he basically chimed in this fight and said, "Look, let's stay the course with Nancy. Don't know what's going on at Atlanta United. Why there's all this agitation. Let him stay in. Let's not just go ahead and support a head coach here." Next game, Atlanta United at home taking on Inter Miami. Inter Miami, the holders of the MLS Cup from the previous season, Supporter Shield winners from the previous season, Eastern Conference winners from the previous season. And Phil Neville, coach of Inter Miami, Sheffield United, thinking of picking up Neville, confident of good performance against Atlanta United. He says, basically, we're the better team. We don't really expect anything other than excellence. But Atlanta United gets the 2-0 win. And it says Inter Miami's defense this year has really struggled. Marsman here in goal, 5.6 rating. Marker 7.1. Kessler, lots of great games from people. Great win to be proud of. I don't know who got man of the match in that one. As it turns out, it was Atlanta. It was Martin Pace in goal. So, win, 2 draws, not bad. But the big news here is Nancy hoping to find agreement with Arteta. Nancy's trying to get Balogun get Balogun to stay here beyond the loan. Ibarra hurt his shoulder. He won't be in that game against Olympia in Honduras. But the big news, USA has announced its squad, and Henry Marshall has been named to the squad. He's been named for a friendly against Serbia here, on Wednesday. Doesn't know if they're not going to promise he's going to play in it, but he's definitely at the home. It's definitely going to be there. He'll be there. The game is going to take place, in Toyota Stadium, Frisco, Texas. But Henry is, of course, pleased as punch. Henry Marshall will miss the second leg against Olympia in the CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinals, but Atlanta United with a 4-0 lead, they have that one in hand. An unnamed source of the U.S. Soccer Federation stated that adding Marshall as a head scratcher, they said he adds nothing to the team. He's just not good enough right now. Marshall's just going to shrug that off. So we're going to stop there, at least give you that good news, and we'll move forward and tell you how that USA game against Serbia ended up and whether Marshall had a chance to play in that one or not. I didn't even get a chance to play one game up to the 19th before we got some more startling news, at least startling news to me. Just some follow-up stuff here. Edwin Mosquera, he made a player. He was named the team of the week. Player for Atlanta United got a naming of team of the week. Phil Neville at Inter Miami. He ended up taking the job at Sheffield United. Sheffield United is currently 19th in the Premier League. It looks very clearly like they are going to be relegated. So, Phil Neville may have a little rebuild coming up. But here's some disturbing news when Henry read it. There was an article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and ESPN too saying that basically club management believes that Nancy's lost the team. And if this is true, then they feel that they have no choice but to, that Nancy's just going to have to move on. Henry is quite flabbergasted by this news. He really, it's not that he's a fan, he's in love with Wilfried Nancy, but he certainly respects him as a coach. Nancy has been nothing but good to Henry Marshall. And now he this sort of witch hunt against Nancy, appears to be playing off. It looks the players may end up winning this battle against their head coach. So Henry, he's just going to keep his head down, be quiet, think about this upcoming game against Serbia. He's got more on his mind here. There once again, here's Edwin Mosquera. You got a team of the week selection. Let's see how the USA game comes out, and let's see if Nancy manages to keep his job. This may be a very long episode. Let's just simply talk about all the crazy things that have been going on. First, we want to talk about what's going on the pitch. And so Atlanta, we're playing this other game here, and they win. Basically, they managed to draw 2-2 over in Honduras. That's going to be enough to get them to the quarterfinals. Marshall had a 7-1 in this game. I was actually wrong about when Marshall was going to be playing for that U.S. game, because the Serbia game isn't actually to the 27th of March. And we can see his 7-1 here and right there. And Luis Arroyo, 1 goal, 1 assist there. He was the player of the game in that one. After this, there were 2 games against Nashville, and the coach of Nashville was Gonzalo Pineda. And he was the former Atlanta United coach before he got fired, and Wilfried Nancy took over his position. So a lot at stake emotionally there. And they lost that game 2-0. This was a game on the road. They had another game against Nashville back-to-back. There were 2 penalty kicks by Leonardo Capata Pace down here in goal. He has a bad game. Gonzalo Pineda, the former Atlanta United coach, he said after the game that Nashville used some of Nancy's comments before the game as their motivation to win it, and it just makes Nancy's job, you know, all that much harder, you know. So we go on. Juan Carlos Osorio would take charge at Inter Miami. You know, see if we can find that one here. There he is, a Syracuse charge at Miami. Then more players trying to make a move against Nancy. You know, Ronald Hernandez is now the guy coming out. He says he needs a new contract as well. And he has a nice little chat with the Washington Post about how badly he needs his contract. And Nancy is starting to look like a dead man walking. You know, now it really is the public face that he's losing the team. And Nancy, responds in the article. He responds to the article. He says the situation in Atlanta isn't as bad as it looks, but no one believes him. He really needs, Nancy needs to start winning. Well, Henry Marshall finally gets his USA cap. Unfortunately, Serbia beats the USA. Also, unfortunately, Henry starts, ends up with a 6.3 rating. Not great. The worst rating of any of the starters, though. Balogun comes with them, and he doesn't have much of a better rating for the U.S. national team. He's a 6.4. But it's he played over 70 minutes. It wasn't a vote of confidence in Jim Curtin's decision to name Marshall to the squad. Henry's parents did drive from Shreveport to Frisco, Texas, to see this game, to actually see their son play for the U.S. team for the very first time. They hope he has other opportunities. Then the rematch at home against Nashville, and another loss. This is a 1-3. So they get beat by Atlanta 2 games in a row. 1-3 loss. Marco had a 6.7 rating. Paez had another terrible game in goal. Right here. Possession rating, garbage, 6.3. It looks like the team's just kind of cracking up. Atlanta's now in 10th place. Henry, however, does get some very, very good news. The Next Gen Best 50 Wonder Kids in Football rating comes out, and there is Henry Marshall, 17 years old. He's ranked the 18th best Wonder Kid in the world. He's also the best American Wonder Kid in the world. The winner of this match is Alfie Sean Devine. He's currently playing for Vitesse, which is it's actually a Dutch team. So in any event, big news for Henry. The world press is starting to take notice of him. Hunter Alvarez tells him, "Look, we've got Atlanta United right where we want them now in contract negotiations before the end of the season." And Henry is really hoping for some big money from Atlanta United because he doesn't want to have to move again. So now we move into April, and this game, the game they called El Sacico, because Sporting Kansas City 14th, Atlanta United 8th. Henry Vermes, I believe, in Kansas City, he's under Peter Vermes, excuse me. Both Nancy and Peter Vermes, they're fighting for their jobs now. The Atlanta press refuses to let up on Nancy. This game is horrible here. Only 5 shots are taken on goal. Marshall gets a yellow card, 6-5. Possession stats in the crapper. Only 1 shot on target. Mediocre all around. But this is what the game surprised me with. And I'm going to have to, think about this here. Because it says that Henry Marshall has fallen out with head coach Wilfried Nancy and looking for me a way out of the club. Reports from Mercedes-Benz suggest Marshall approached Nancy to request a new contract and was left angered by his failure, sanction a new deal. Now, how do you, if you're playing this game as a role playing game, how do you interpret that? You've not really. Is this something new? Is it not new? What's going on? I'm going to wrap this up right here because what happens next is going to take a long time to tell. And I don't want this video to be 30 minutes long. Anyway, it's going to be the end of this episode. If you like what you hear or see, make a comment or hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, take care.